and welcome to the Golf Yourself Healthy podcast, where deep, meaningful, and philosophical conversations about golf and life are par for the course. I'm your host, Kris Lynch. I'm back with you ahead of schedule, ahead of the next full-length episode going out on Sunday the 3rd of March. Really, I wanted to put a short bonus episode out as an opportunity to offer some acknowledgements, thanks and words of gratitude to those of you who have tuned in and listened to the first episode, and moreover, those of you who have reached out to me directly, whether that's through email or it's LinkedIn or it's WhatsApp, however it is, I have been really quite moved and reassured and validated, I suppose, are the words that come to mind based on the messages of support that I've had from people that have listened to the first full-length episode that went out on the Sunday the 18th of February. Really, I suppose I'd had an opportunity to reflect and wanted to, if I think about the comments that I've had from those of you that have reached out, have either listened to the first episode or actually read the journal I've written and published on golfyourselfhealthy.com, I've reflected on the purpose of Golf Yourself Healthy, the reason why it's been created and everything that it stands for. And very much it has been created in memory and in honour of my son Innes, because I made a promise to him when he passed on that I would forever honour his name and honour his life and to immortalise him. You know, actually maybe building on some of what I shared in that first episode about Innes is that we subsequently discovered in the post-mortem that we had for him that he had a condition called de Jour syndrome. De Jour syndrome is basically what de Jour syndrome is when at the point of conception there is an absence of or the deletion of a particular chromosome. Where a baby does not have that missing chromosome, it generally always leads to fetal abnormalities, and in Innes's case, this would explain why he had the multiple heart defects that he had. You know, it's a very rare condition. It's believed that it affects anywhere between 1 in 4,000 babies. So obviously very rare, and it's almost even more cruel in a way to us that we found out that he was in that 0.1% club or whatever it is, right? But actually tied into this idea of honouring his life and immortalising him, the brand logo that you will see, for example, on the website, golfyourselfhealthy.com, or on the podcast artwork. Also, you'll see it on my Instagram and X channels, etc. You will see a chromosome with a golf tee going through the middle of it. And at the point where I was working with a good friend of mine, Nicola, who's a graphic designer and actually building the visuals and the graphics and the brand artwork for Golf Yourself Healthy, I had this idea that I shared with her, which was I want to be able to immortalize him or have the brand reflect in a really respectful and sensitive way. And I feel we've achieved that with this particular logo, because basically what does that stand for? The chromosome is, in my mind, that's the missing chromosome that Innes had. And I'm taking that and I'm putting it out there into the world. That's my way of immortalizing him. That's my way of him living on through Golf Yourself Healthy. And so that anytime you, as a listener, as a viewer, or engaging with Golf Yourself Healthy, and you see that image of that golf tee through the chromosome, that is Innes touching other people's lives and living on spiritually in this kind of immortal way. And as I say, that's all part of my efforts as his dad to keep his memory alive and to allow him to live vicariously through other means. And so looking back and reflecting on the purpose of Golf Yourself Healthy, well, my intention, as I've already said, was to honour his name and his memory. I feel and I believe and I sense that I've achieved that, because if the messages and reactions that I've received following the launch of the first episode and the writing and launching of the first journal article are anything to go by, that is what I'm being told. People, you know, are saying really kind things about that. And so it seems like I'm on the right track in that respect. And for as long as Golf Yourself Healthy exists, then it's my intention to keep going with that and to always have that at the forefront of everything that I do. Building on that, and it's something almost naturally following on from, or a natural outcome of honouring Innes's life, would be to offer hope and inspiration to others. Putting the golf in context to one side for a second here, me touching on the subject of baby loss, I sense, again, through the kind of reactions that I've had from direct messages, for example, are suggesting to me that there are people out there that have been through baby loss, they've been through similar things, and hearing Innes's story, hearing my story, and speaking very openly and vulnerably about it is helping others. And that is part of my purpose now. And so that brings me joy. And actually, over the course of time and with the podcast episodes I intend to design and to the types of conversations that I intend to have with people and the types of people and their backgrounds and their stories that I intend to invite into the podcast are intended to cover a whole range of topics that will be vast and varied and touch on lots of different aspects of life. And so the thing, again, that all guests on this podcast will have in common is that we're all unified by this belief that golf is good for us. And each individual person will be invited to explain how golf has been good for them, how golf has, both through times of challenge, difficulty, grief, loss, recovery, whatever it might be, but even outside of those moments, just talking about fond memories of golf and how it's enriched their lives. Another thing is to have existing golfers to find a deeper meaning with the game, to really think about golf, their golf, in a way they might not have done so before, and appreciate the health and well-being benefits that go with it. If this podcast, if Golf Yourself Healthy as a community of people, of golfers, could also achieve the outcome of attracting new people into the game with a view to it becoming a more diverse, inclusive and accessible sport, then that can only be a good thing. So again, this is just my opportunity to thank you for listening. If you have done already, if you haven't, you're tuning in for the first time, thanks for going on this journey with me, with us. I'm excited about what's going to come next. So let's go on to that. The second thing, other than saying thanks and offering gratitude in this bonus episode, was to also give a flavour of what's coming next in future episodes. So let's talk about, first of all, the episode that will go out on Sunday the 3rd of March, and then I'll also tell you about the next one after that on Sunday the 17th of March, because certainly in these early days of Golf Yourself Healthy, and whilst I'm trying to identify guests to invite, have the time to do this thing justice, a fortnightly cadence is going to work best. So on Sunday the 3rd of March, we're going to be in conversation with a friend of mine, fellow golfer, Ben Seabrook. Ben, like myself, has very sadly experienced baby loss. He and his wife Bryony experienced the loss of their son Dylan, who was stillborn in 2012. And so Ben will not only talk and share Dylan's story, but he'll also go on to explain the amazing work that he and his wife have been doing to raise awareness on baby loss, raise money for baby loss charities. But also it will be very apparent in the conversation, again, how has golf helped Ben and his family to a degree as well through this period of such tragedy, and how overall does golf enrich his life. I've listened back to the recording of that conversation with Ben a few times now, and I've learned a lot, even just listening back to the things that he's had to share, and I believe that you as a listener will do too. So it's one not to be missed. Following on from that, the next episode you'll be able to look forward to, that will be released on Sunday the 17th of March, will be with Robin Chodak. And Robin will be our first international guest on the podcast. She'll be joining us from across the pond in Florida, USA. Robin will be coming to talk to us about her relationship with golf and grief, and ultimately how her experiences through golf and grief have led her to a new purpose in life, and how she has decided through her grief to pursue a new calling, pursue a new purpose, retrain, change careers from being in IT to becoming a grief coach and a grief therapist. And it's through the work that she does in that area that she has gone on to write many books about grief, but one in particular that drew me to Robin, which is her book called 10 Grief Lessons from Golf, a book that I've purchased and read, and I have to say has helped me a lot through my own grief. But fundamentally what her book this particular book is all about is how we can process our grief and integrate it into our lives and help ourselves to move forward through grief. But also Robin very intriguingly talks about how her experiences in golf, in particular where she was introduced to golf by her late husband, Jerry, who died in 2019, who he himself was an avid golfer, a scratch golfer. She, like me, has this purpose in life to honour, in her case, her husband's life. And it's so great to hear her talk about her experiences with golf and with grief, and how in her book she helps the griever move through grief, but also actually learn about how we can equally, the life lessons that we can learn from golf, the great things that golf gives to us, and how actually golf is this metaphor for life. It really is not an episode to be missed. It's a very enlightening, thought-provoking conversation. And so I really hope that you're looking forward to those 2 episodes already, which, like I say, are going to be released respectively on Sunday the 3rd of March and Sunday the 17th of March. Just the third and final thing for this bonus episode was just a call for support and for help from our listeners. So firstly, if you could rate the show, rate this episode or any other of the available episodes, the trailer episode and the first full episode, give them a rating and a review on whichever podcast platform that you use to listen to your podcasts. This is really going to help us grow this podcast and actually just continually enhance it over time to make sure it constantly improves your listener experience. And then secondly, if you believe that this podcast could be of help or could be of interest to others that you know, then please do share the podcast link with them. And then just finally for now is to remind you that you can find us on social media, on Instagram at Golf Yourself Healthy and on X at GYHpod. Kindly ask and encourage that you go onto either of those platforms if you use them and follow us there. So that is really it for now. Thank you so much again. And as ever, I'm going to remind you to always embrace the rough and forever cherish the fairway.